So I've been watching these Howard Crowes videos. I knew he was going to be uploading some videos a couple of weeks ago. He just started a new channel and then put a couple of promos up. But then, because I've been sort of busy trying to sort some of the legal work out on the right to petition and other things that are a bit more important, I wasn't checking his channel. So he's just been, the last couple of weeks, he's just been uploading these amazing Stonehenge videos, quite relevant really, because there's all this issue with the tunnel that they're wanting to build through the landscape, which is upsetting quite a few people. So I've just watched these videos. I think the last one he put up was 2 days ago. So I've just been catching up with them because there's been a lot of other things to watch, you know, what's going on with the whole Robert F. Kennedy and Marianne Williamson versus Biden and our government misbehaving and just the whole thing. So, but what I wanted to say, I don't know if I can get Howard Crowes to listen to this. I wanted to talk to him about our ancient sites and a few other things, which is actually what I wanted to record a video about. But I just thought I'd say this is worth saying. I've not really been too well recently, and I'm not able to. Well, I can add up, you know, like 2 and 2 is 4, and, you know, 4 and 4 is 8, and so forth. I've never been that brilliant at amazing mathematics, but I know that it's all about, you've got to like numbers, and you've got to enjoy thinking about numbers, and then it's all about splitting them, or combining them, or comparing them. When you get into what we're looking at here, this is all the complicated geometry and mathematical calculations of the layout of Stonehenge in relation to just maths itself, like a celebration of mathematics itself, but for the purpose of being used to measure the movements of the stars and planets and heavens and the moon and the sun and time itself. And I haven't actually heard it officially said before, although I think everyone had a feeling about, you know, when you go to Stonehenge, there's this whole, like, you know, Caledonia, the calendar, you know, sundials and the whole thing. It always makes you think of, you know, more ancient, lesser known forms of measurement. But he's actually confirmed that, you know, the 60 seconds, you know, the actual clock that we use now, you know, the iconic sort of wristwatch as well, I suppose they use on 007, don't they? It is actually, there is a basis for it fitting into Stonehenge. One thing that Howard has said in this series so far, and if I'm wrong, let me know, but I'm quoting on him. He said that because we haven't really got any official recognition of Stonehenge as a monument in prehistory, and apparently never written anything down. We know that, you know, the Romans did write that people came to Britain to study Druidry and so forth, so we can't have been at war all the time and warring tribes, particularly when you've got certain areas in Britain specialised for flint, like Worthing, hill forts, and, you know, materials for axes coming out of Wales and other places, and the potteries and different trading. You know, there's normal life and there's normal trading, and, you know, they're delivering things on boats. I mean, they're coming over on boats now, and dinky boats they're coming over. So what he said, Howard Crowes has actually said that they did refer to the Celts, but they all went to, at a certain time of year, they all went to the temple of Apollo. Well, actually, if you type it in, Apollo is meant to be the Greekest of gods, but one of the symbols of Apollo is the sun, right? You know, the thing about the Mediterranean in the sculptures, all their sculpting, and they were very into making statues. It's all to do with hard light and shadow, and they like the sun. In fact, a lot of their monuments were kept to protect them from the sun from getting burned. Here, Stonehenge doesn't protect you from the sun because it's not too hot here. You actually open to the stars to observe them. So if it actually does mean the sun. If they said everyone went to the Temple of Apollo and danced at this certain time of year, then really they meant the sun. And that is really what the heel, Howard is saying that the word the heel stone or the word heel is meant to be for the sun, the word for sun. So if there's this heel stone and the word in the Gaelic language, in Celtic language, refers to sun, then that would correlate correctly with, what he was saying about, in fact, the Greeks or the Romans referred to it as, well, their name for it was they called it the Temple of Apollo, but they mean the Temple of the Sun. So that, I think he's in, there is a reference to them mentioning it, and they did have a name for it, and it was a Temple of the Sun then, so it was a Temple of the Sun. But everything what Howard's saying is that it was built there because of it was a certain place where you could build it, not just because of, it was a nice flat place and it was on the Wiltshire Downs and it was a nice place that was flat and level, but position-wise on the face of the planet, like the pyramids are meant to have been built in a certain place. It was built in a certain place because it was a certain place where certain alignments of the sun and the moon and astronomy happened at certain times of year. Now, I really, really, really believe that there's some. They've got that altar stone, with the that's at Stonehenge. There's definitely something in the fact that, in Aberdeenshire, they've got all these recumbent stone circles where you have a stone laid, you have a stone circle of stones, and then between two of them, you've got a stone that is laid flat, laid down. And this is to observe the moon, right? And apparently that part of the planet in Scotland is the perfect place to observe the moon, although it's interesting because, there's quite like before Caledonia channel, and there's that guy from Liverpool University who is really into the recumbent stone circles, and they do lots of videos there. That Martin guy from before Caledonia does so many videos there, but the one thing that they don't do, and the prehistory guys did like a CGI video, and that's the only people I've seen do it. A lot of these stone circles in Scotland, they've got trees around them. They won't clear the trees. If they cleared the trees, you could be making loads and loads of videos of the moon going over, or even if they're not quite in alignment anymore, as close as you can get to it. At night time, like there's a lot of people now doing amazing nighttime photography of these stones and things like that. You could do some really, really beautiful clear photos, not actually using it what it was used for to make the observations. It's almost like someone's blocked you off from doing it by letting the trees grow over. That's why I don't like this whole thing about them digging the tunnel under Stonehenge. One thing that's stopping the progress now of this mass Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, World Economic Forum, technology future that they want to force on us everywhere with robots and cities and everything is we're trying to protect history and heritage, and there's a lot of people who like beautiful villages in the Cotswolds or wherever, and they want to retain that style because it's pretty and beautiful. And even if you could, have a time machine and go to any place you wanted, you might choose to go to that place just because you like it. You know, oh, I could go to a space station or go to somewhere, live forever as an android, or be a slug on a tree branch, or transform into a fucking leprechaun, or transform into a electric pulse on a wire and just be pure consciousness, or turn into a gaseous form. You know, it's almost like, Merlin versus Mordred or something, they're transforming into a disease or something. It's just nice. It looks nice. It's pretty, and we like it, right? But there are forces that really want to build and build and build and build, and they can't stop. Like, Imperial Chemical Industries, Zeneca, aeroplane factories, in Cora, into the core of the brain, even though the people in the village oppose against it multiple times, and we just can't stop them. Highways England, I think that this bypass under the ground symbolises, bypassing these places, in Ireland, even though, they might have resisted the imperial rule and, Southern Ireland is a separate country, they've snuck in there through the Cairn Homes, through the contractors, through the Euro legislations, where they can, if multi-billionaire investors want to build 400 homes, they're unstoppable, unblockable, boom, boom, boom. And there's nothing the local people can do about it. You've got to pay €20 to make an observation, even to look at, how dare you look at what we're doing. You could do with making some observations here at Stonehenge. There's some observations to make. They're unstoppable, these forces, and I think it symbolises, if they can't demolish these sites, they'll just bypass them, like the little house in the prairie, up on the M62 between Yorkshire and Lancashire. We need to be able to stop these forces. I mean, these forces apparently now are beyond leaders. It's not Ben Bradshaw, the MP, with his David Dickinson, very, very loose hairstyle, and his tie loosened up, laxing his bum, ready for kids' operations at 7-year-old. It's not Andrew Bridgen. It's not Rashid Sunak with his multiple houses and richest wife in the world. King Charles of England is beyond himself. He's beyond leaders. He's beyond his own throne. It's like the Batman in the Batcave. He's beyond Bruce Wayne. The Batman is beyond Bruce Wayne. He's beyond the rich billionaire entrepreneur, because he's got a secret life from his Batcave. Charles is beyond Charles. Charles is beyond the throne. With trillions, excess trillions is disposable. He throws trillions away like, you throw an empty can of Coke into the bin and crush it up. They're disposable. Money's not the object now. It's about the permissions. It's about defeating the public will and opinion. Money is no limit. There is nothing that money can't buy other than bending the will of other people. And that is ultimately what the food toxicity is about. Get us in an unfit state to compete against them, taking over the social media so we can't come together to oppose them. But actually I'm kind of going off subject now, but this is kind of important, right? So mathematically, right, it's true that at the moment I'm listening to Howard Crowhurst, right, and he's doing all these complicated mathematics, right, and it's all laid out by 4 simple stones, right, but this is thousands and thousands of years before, the Greeks were writing it down, and just because they write it down doesn't necessarily claim, we know they were using this maths and recording it, but Howard Crowe's has proved that these complicated mathematics were being used before then. Now, one thing I wanted to ask Howard is, if the Celts didn't write anything down, how did they work it all out there? Was it all done in their head? Because when we work it out and look at it, there's at least drawings here. Did they draw it in the chalk and then rub it out? Did they draw it in the sand and rub it out and study it? Or they didn't actually write it on parchment, on paper, but, were the Celts drawing it in chalk when they studied it? Were they putting trees in these patterns when they studied it and, lining it up with pieces of string? Is that what they were doing at Woodhenge? Did they tie strings around those tree stumps that were in there at Woodhenge, move them around, like when you're doing like a weaving thing, and work the calculations out like that? Did they write them down on a leaf, or did they just discuss them and talk about them in their language, and they just held it all in their mind, like it was like, an imaginative, they held it in their imagination, or what? I'd like to ask Howard Crowe what his theory is too. I mean, he's saying they had these rods, these prehistoric rods, whatever, but how did they, when Howard's giving his lesson in front, when they were teaching each other it or whatever, how did they do that? Does he suggest that they might have written it in, chalk or in sand on the floor and then rubbed it out, obviously not permanently set there? Is that how they studied it? I think that these people, I think that, this hunter-gatherer, when you see the Aboriginals in Australia and they move around seasonal for the food, different foods in different areas and tracking animals, that's the, when you're moving around, you're on, your life is exploration. And your life is touring, and also when you're at these camp, at night time, you're traveling by the stars and stuff. And as you get more intelligent, but you're also exploring. It's not like a life of living in one village and getting up out of bed, and then cutting some corn and then going back to sleep, and then you're just doing that every day. These certain people of intelligence and learning, they evolve from a culture of traveling, but then you've got the whole kind of psychedelic side of it and exploring the inside, the inner human, the psyche, the dreaming, the psychology part of it as well. You've got different people studying different things or knowledgeable about different things. I really think that they traveled for, when they had this, we've got this evidence of, the Temple of the Sun, Apollo, that they referred to it as. They're saying that all the Aberdeenshire sites, although it's not just like one Temple of the Sun, the Aberdeenshire sites, where they've got multiple recumbent stone circles, but they're unique to that part of the country, but therefore the moon observations, but there's more of them, they are also on a specific longitude and latitude, which is the best place for that. And then Howard's saying that all these sites line up over long distance, right? So it's not a case of the warring Celts who are just fighting all the time and fighting over family feuds or just over this and that. We've got very, very well established places for flint that are being traded, like at Worthing. And then we've got very established places for other materials and different things for trading. There is a normal life of normal people as well as people who are travelling around, whether it's by chariots or horses or whatever. And then you've got all these moving of material, and everything's also symbolic as well. But the thing that I haven't really got to the thing that I really wanted to say, actually. When, at the moment, my mathematical mind is not really working too amazingly well at the moment, so I'm just, taking everything that Howard says, for granted, because, he's the person who's calculated it all and worked it all out, right? But he's saying that, we had this ability long ago, right? But there's another type of thinking, though. What Howard's basically saying is, if you are clever and you know maths and you've learned this, and you have it in your head, you can recognize this from just one or two stones, from a very simple layout of stones and alignments. That they're basically all these on this screen now that we're looking at, all these complicated equations and mathematical calculations can be held in the mind, and the numbers of them and the whole kind of astral, the whole thought form of it all. It doesn't. Where does it exist in the human mind? It's calculations, right? So you can have very simple objects and things there, but then you can have all this thing that we've got intelligence in the mind, which has all this information within the human that knows all these calculations, like, the ancient, mathematics and so forth. But, only certain people are aware of it or know it, right? Because when you look at it, there's nothing there but, just 4 stones. It's almost like, the Illuminati, it's all these lines and all these numbers and calculations, that are knowledge, but there's nothing there. There's just, 4 stones and a couple of leaves blowing past, right? But when you hold it in the mind, all the calculations are there. It's like number of the beast, isn't it, or something, right? But what I want to say is this, and this is what, like Andrew Bridgen's been talking about, and what, Jimmy Dore talks about, and Robert F. Kennedy at the moment. And this is what we're trying to get the general mainstream, the general public to understand. Not numbers, not mathematics, but if numbers bore you, if the dividing and adding and subtracting is not your thing, but you have got a intelligence in other things, in other areas of thought, where you can understand complicated things that other people don't seem to get or care about or aren't interested in or don't believe you, or they don't seem to be able to calculate it as you can calculate it or work it out, is what's going on now with, I don't have all these numbers in my head and all these rectangles and all these squares and divisions and the equator and the motions of the sun. We can't see them all now. I mean, a lot of the time it's cloudy. Then you've got the natural light that people have got, so you can't even see the sky at night like you used to be able to do, very bright. What I do see and what is illuminated, what is very, very complicated and technical calculations, observations and knowledge illuminated, which I can and have got the ability to understand, regardless of what Jacob Rees-Mogg thinks with all his business handshake deals and his economy calculations and Rishi Sunak's, is the illuminated plan, the illuminated lines and calculations of the knowledge of what Tony Blair is talking about when he sits on the World Economic Forum chair going, mechanisms of implementation, many advantages. No, it's someone else's problem. When he's the big plan, what are these people doing? Oh, it's just an Incora building. It's just Incora. They're just making airplane engines. Oh, don't worry. It's just the Kingsgate Centre. They're just selling mobile phones and shoes. Just the Enterprise. Oh, it's Patrick Stewart. What is happening? Oh, don't worry. It's just a fence around the school. What is going on? It's not just a fence around the school because, there's a couple of weirdos, don't worry about them, we'll just put a fence around the school. No, what's actually going on? Because there are lines calculations, numbers, triangles, reasons that add up, calculate, right? These schools now have all got fences round. Then they don't want the kids to know what's going on in school. Now we're losing our sperm count and they've been feeding us toxic food and we can't even do these calculations anymore, many people. All these ancient illuminative calculations. And then people are distracted by Strictly Come Dancing and people are distracted by game shows. They want to go sit in chairs facing a comedian telling jokes, not working out these complicated things of what's going on, while, where people are, their hormones are going and they're getting, they're being born and then they're wanting to have operations on them, while certain key people are accumulating trillions disposable, while they're working on microchips that are only made in one factory in the world, that are sending signals out from mobile phones, influencer advertising through advertisements placed on the street at every other junction, taken over by this is not council. These aren't council notices, council signs. The corporate have bought the streets. The corporate have bought the bus stops, the streets, everywhere else. We can't even put signs and notices up now, hardly, when we want to collect signatures. Councillors are saying, take them down. We've got Green Party councillors complaining when we're trying to save ancient sites and protect trees. Oh, the public are complaining to me. Take them down. Well, they noticed it this time, did they? Put enough notices up, have I now? Coca-Cola at every junction. There's been complaints. Save the clock tower. Oh, they're going mad. Save the clock tower everywhere they look. Everywhere. They're going berserk. Well, it's a good job I've got the right to do it then, isn't it? It's important. We need to save it. Not just a minute. No, Coca-Cola own these streets now. That's why they've got, Coca-Cola. Every bus stop, then another bus stop, then Coca-Cola, then another bus stop, then Coca-Cola, then another bus shelter, then Coca-Cola. Why aren't the locals ringing the councillor up going, just a minute, we've got Coca-Cola signs up everywhere. Why don't you take them down? There's no political right to have those. How are they there then? Money. You don't need money when you put political notices up. You need no money, zero, nothing. Right? But why Andrew Cooper, local councillors say, my constituents are complaining. You put notices up everywhere. Yeah, no, that's about time they noticed. I put one up in the post office, but no one noticed he was there. Like a needle in an haystack. Oh, they noticed now. They're not putting enough up. They must have noticed it now. You're getting some complaints through. Bloody hell. That's more than those 54% now won't even vote. They'll pick the phone up and if you can get them to pick the phone up and complain because you're putting too many Save the Clock Tower notices up in the village, then it's got them to do more than they can bother doing on voting day and turning up at the polling station. Because if 54% of the people now can't be bothered turning up at the polling station to vote, then you're doing something right when they're ringing up Andrew Cooper, the local councillor, to take your bloody Save the Clock Tower notices down because they're putting more effort in them when they turn up at the polling station. This is it. There is a complicated, very, very, very complicated technical knowledge of what is going on now, illuminated just like this technical data, right? Which is unfortunately beyond the capacity of most people now because they'd rather sit in, audiences watching Peter Kay sweat, right? Which is, what are they doing to us? What are they doing to us children? And this is it. Calculating that, working it out, which is what Robert F. Kennedy is doing. And some other people who are aware of it. And what we actually need is someone like Howard Crowhurst with his numbers to actually get the, like this with the diagram to show what Elon Musk is planning with his Neuralink. He never mentioned that X. No one, the Anonymous never mentioned X. Musk never mentioned X. No one mentioned X. They were all talking about Musk buying Twitter. No one said anything about Musk buying Twitter and turning it into X until he turns into X. And I've been following the whole thing. When he sprung that one on us. I think we are screwed with this whole Neuralink thing, because if they're not good, if they can't microchip us all, then they're gonna toxify us all, so we're sexless, and stupid. That's the way it's going. Accept cookies, consent to what we're doing, Luckily, we're studying the rights and finding out, well, actually, we can do things. They can't use the law against us when we're politically opposing them. It's actually not for the law to get involved. That's one thing worth learning. I can tell you that. So all these complicated calculations and all these invisible lines, what we want to be teaching people is that, you see, many people aren't even working these things out, but yet when, Howard Crowhurst goes up there, or a mathematician, Professor Tim Wilson or whoever it is, they just nod. They go, they can't even do the calculation or the formula or the algebra, but they don't disagree. They're not going, oh no, you're talking a load of rubbish, we don't believe you. They we watched this and, we're going, okay, if you say so, right? Now that's the problem. There is fact of what is happening. And this is the thing with Robert F. Kennedy now, and I guess Marianne Williamson and a few others. They're telling people, they're informing them in the same way Howard Crowhurst is, like this, with a complicated plan of what these people, what is the invisible, illuminated lines and trajectories and plans in their mind that they don't admit and don't want to tell us, right? Because they've got all these secret calculated numbers in their heads that they get a thrill out of, which is hard for people to work out, and only they know them. All their profits and numbers of Rees-Mogg. And when we tell everyone what's going on, you get Biden said, oh no, it's all misinformation, it's all lies. Why isn't Biden saying this is all misinformation and all lies, right? They are misleading us and swindling us. And if you are too distracted by the entertainment, or if you're not interested, you will have to take it. You will have to take it for, like what Howard Crowhurst does. We aren't questioning his mathematics. This is what Robert F. Kennedy is talking about. All these foods and toxicities. People have known about the effects for a long time. And they've done their plans and they've done their plots and they've placed them here and there, and it's all been for mass profit of these organisations. And then it's not even loads and loads of people who have ended up owning them. They've bought them all for themselves. They've bought them all for themselves to our health detriment and to the detriment of our learning and knowledge as well. And there is a plan to it. And the way they're going with the machines, these people do not, there's one thing they do not want, and that is other people's will and opinion that is in disagreement to theirs. Because what is a workforce? It is obedience and doing what they want. They don't want any opposition or challenge, and if there is, they want to bypass it, bypass underneath it or around it. They don't want to be blocked or stopped or obstructed, because with these people, there is their way or no way, and there is no stopping. And that's very dangerous when there's no stopping, because that's how people get ill and obese and over generations, and how people get ill and disease and toxicity when people just carry on with addictive, repetitive behaviours. That's the problem. There's nothing wrong with progress in technology, but where it's harming people, and that is the advantage. That was the advantage to these people. Because machines follow orders, and machines don't have an opinion. People do. So as they get more machines, people are a pain in their ass, and people are in their way, particularly people who don't agree with them. And if their kids all are in their schools and fenced off and getting their genders changed, and they pick out the ones that they want for their elite, and the rest are getting unhealthy and overeating, then you end up with no people except an elite people who are all in agreement to the same opinion, and then replace the rest with, and once they've got a certain amount of robot workforce, then they'll set them on the people then. Now you might think, well, why would they do that? Well, take a walk in a park in Russia, play Putin at snooker, and then, buy him a sherry. This is a human being. No, it's all right. He apparently we're his worst enemy now. We have always been and always shall be his worst enemy, according to Putin. This is a man. They've got students, pool tables, going to a local shop, buy a chocolate bar. Oh, it's just Russia, right? Doesn't matter whether it's Tony Blair, Biden, Putin, or Xi Jinping, right? No civilians or citizens are interested in going to war when they're more interested in eating hot dogs, kebabs, and chocolate bars. Like Constantine. As long as he gets his next kebab, then he's happy, and his next, sponsored, I've sponsored $10 for his show. It's these leaders, the people with the money, the people who are designing and making the tanks and selling them. Why are we even agreeing to go to war? Right? Why doesn't everyone in Russia sit down, cross their legs, and then put their finger up in front of them and start singing, "Fuck you, Putin"? And why doesn't everyone in Ukraine sit down on the floor, cross their legs, put their finger up, and sing, "Fuck you, Zelensky"? And why doesn't everyone in England sit down on the floor, cross their legs, put the middle finger up and say, "Fuck you, Rishi Sunak"? Right? Or Boris Johnson even, who went round to sculpt the peace committee. These are normal people in normal jobs. They're forcing us to do things that we don't want to do with their illuminated plan, because they actually don't care about people. They care about profits, money, and progress in technology for them, not for us, for them. They don't care about people. This is the problem. They have got a plan. It's obvious to see it, and people who disagree with it can't work it out. They haven't got the ability to calculate or work it out or see it. And they have to take our word for it. But the problem is they don't want to do the maths. They don't want to do the calculations. They don't want to be able to work it out. They want to go to the cabaret. They want to go watch Professor Tim Wilson's next show must go on. They want to sit in an audience at Strictly Come Dancing and watch Angela Rippon. They're not interested. That's the problem. They're interested in the Chinese meal in the chocolate bar. And that's why we need to wake people up, or else, it's going to be genocide. Because these elite now won't have any need or requirement for us once they've got the machines. And they have absolute complete disregard for our health. They've been killing us with these businesses and making a killing out of it. And that's the problem. And it's a different illumination to just numbers and shapes and triangles. It's about seeing and understanding. The fences aren't around schools to protect kids from the oddball. I can tell you that. It's part of a plan. And they have absolutely messed up our hormones. It's proved that since World War II, the sperm count's gone down by half. They've been testing people. They know all these things. Now, this has got to do with the Knights of England. Where are these knights? What are they doing? Where are their positions on here? They're in key positions. Here's Tony Blair, Knight of the Realm in the World Economic Forum. Here we have the knighted Sir Ben Bradshaw, right in Parliament. It was on the BBC broadcasting to the country. Now we've got Sir Nick Clegg, right next to Mark Zuckerberg, global president. These knights of the realm of England are all in key working, strategically placed, influential positions in this plan. And they are screwing us over. Bradshaw's about to, turn us all into hermaphrodites with no sex, after we've been chemically neutered by Sir Alan Sugar's diabetes. Oh, Sir Alan Sugar with his sugar empire. We need to do something about this military industrial regime with its champions. We need to put an end to this evil empire of which Charles has self-advocated, self-confessed. He's beyond himself. He's beyond Bruce Wayne. When you are beyond the leaders, when you are the leader and you're beyond yourself, he's beyond Batman in a Batcave. This is the problem with Charles and Andrew. They're beyond themselves. They're beyond leaders. They're beyond Larry Fink. They're beyond disposable trillions and beyond. I think that they are psychopathic, and these are the paths. These are their paths, and then the only person who can see master mathematicians' lines and angles is another master mathematician. So, unfortunately, we need psychopathic people who can see the paths, the plans, the ploys, the points of these people. And that is what we actually need. Not, Welsh boy, now I'm on, it's the army. It's the army, I'm on the radio. Don't worry, we got a Welsh boy in there now in the army. On the radio, nothing beats the army, nothing beats the army. No, well, actually, something is going to beat the army. Because we don't want an army. We don't need an army. If everyone sat on the floor and crossed their legs when Peter Kay said, Peter Kay says, hop on your left leg. Peter Kay says, hop on your right leg. Peter Kay says, sit down on the floor, cross your legs, put one finger up with the birdie, fuck you, Putin. If Peter Kay were that big in Russia, that might be actually the solution to the war. It's Cuddly Boris. This is the problem. We need these people to sit down, not turn up in the factories, make tanks, make bombs, the workforce, the labour force, Workers' Party, Jeremy Corbyn, Labour. Labour is the problem, because if it wasn't for Labour, they wouldn't have made all this toxic crap that's killing us. It's Labour's fault for doing it. And how do they get them to do it? How the hell do you get someone to turn up, sit in a room on a seat, all facing the front, with, someone with trickle of sweat, bead of sweat dribbling down the side of their head? This is the problem. Like Alex Belfield. How do they do it? We've got Mr. Beast, chocolate bars everywhere. Prime drinks, these YouTubers, these kids, the kids actually think it's cool. The first thing they do when they make millions on YouTube, make Neil Mohan happy and proud of them, is have a chocolate bar in a garage, and then, Neil Mohan probably go have one on his lunch break. It's all wrong. They're even breeding these kids up now to venerate these industrial complex, really unhealthy companies. It's all psychological. I think we're screwed, And Bradshaw is, what's it? He spent a life talking into a microphone. It's the BBC. Oh, well done, Ben. Loosen your tie up. Look, it's David Dickinson there. He's selling some antiques. That's okay. I'm selling operations for kids in Parliament. Would you like one? No, you're all right, Ben. I'm going to put you in prison because you're a criminal like Jimmy Savile. That's where you belong. After your Dark Lord and Master has toxified everyone with his dangerous toxical chemicals that he strategically placed and planned around the country, and you, didn't do anything to stop them while you were on the BBC. You could have done, but now you're batting for the team, Roll up, come get your child up, switch sex, any sex you want, boy, girl, boy, girl, or none at all, Andronimus. This is it. Something needs to be done about these people. And if they don't get us with the operation, they're going to get us with their toxic industry, because Alan Sugar is no better than Bradshaw, no better than Nick Clegg, and no better than Charles himself. We need to stop these people. We need to stop these people now, because they are going to have genocide everywhere if we do not stop them. And we need to wake people up from their, this is the thing. People are so ill that the only thing that makes them happy now in life is, turning up in the theatre watching a cabaret, watching Strictly Come Dancing. Don't worry, it's Angela Rippon. Everything's going to be okay now. Nothing to see there. This is it.